Let's bring you this discussion now. The health department says it will ban cannabis-infused foods as they are not meeting safety and quality standards. In fact, the Minister of Health, Dr Aaron Motsoaledi, gazetted regulations blocking the sale and manufacturing of exactly those foods. That was earlier this month. Let's unpack the story further. Penny Campbell is a senior manager for food control at the health department, and she joins us live. Penny, it's good to talk to you. I suppose important to start with, when does this ban come into effect, and should consumers steer clear of the products that are still on the shelves?
So good afternoon, Michelle, and good afternoon to the viewers. So let me first establish what Minister has done. He has prohibited anything that has cannabis or hemp seed oil or flour to be called a foodstuff. So it's not banning any of the products that are out there. It is banning anyone calling it a foodstuff. So the reason we had to do this...
that for us, Penny. Okay. So you're not banning people call them edibles. You're not banning edibles, you're banning the ingredients that contain traces of hemp.
Okay, so if we're talking edibles, edibles have always been illegal. So we're not even venturing into that territory. We are indicating that the products that are infused or flavored or even made from any hemp or cannabis, they cannot be called foodstuffs. So you will see a lot of products that are formulated as if they are food products, but then they have big labels saying cannabis or the leaf or CBD or all of those things. So all that we're saying is to consumers out there that those products have fallen into a category that we call consumer products, as the schedules have been updated by SAHPRA. And originally, why this is the case is that cannabis, the whole plant, has always been a Schedule 6 medication under the Medicines Act. Mm-hmm. But subsequent to discovery that cannabidiols are very beneficial as a medicine, it was then down scheduled to Schedule 4. But cannabidiol is also what we call CBD. Right. But you can then still have a Schedule 0 product containing 75 parts per million or less and be classed as a Schedule 0 medicine. So all the products that express a claim of having CBD have been dealt with by SAHPRA, and they've descheduled and then said when the product has no medical or pharmacological actions, then those products would need to be approved under the Foodstuffs Act. So at the moment, we have not approved any products. And so because of that, we needed to indicate to consumers out there that these products are not being checked by environmental health practitioners as yet, because they've often been sold as health products, and you will often find them in health shops. And yes, food does not necessarily enter into health, because we indicate in our labeling regulations as well that you cannot have a health claim on foodstuffs.
Right. Yeah, it does appear, I'm just looking through some research now, and it does appear, Penny, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but that the decision the decision essentially that decriminalized the use of marijuana by adults, that there was some sort of gray areas and loopholes, because as you say, there are all of these stores that are selling so-called edibles or products containing marijuana or CBD or THC. But just because something is widespread and it is being sold doesn't necessarily mean it is legal. You're telling us now, and so says the research I've just come up with here, that it is illegal.
Yes. So that's definitely with regards to the edibles.
Right. Because
they still might have a content of THC, and THC is the baddie. So it's the highest cannabidiol that is out there, and that's the one that had been scheduled as a medicine. The Medicines Act also declassified hemp when it is used for fiber and industrial use. But with the recent descheduling, they've also brought in agricultural use. So that's going to open up the regulatory stream for hemp and hemp-based products. However, there's still a section in the legislation in agriculture that needs to ensure that we have a continued chain of traceability of these products. Because if you can imagine, the marijuana plant or cannabis, both the hemp and the one that has high THC look exactly the same. So some consumers and some entrepreneurs out there have been under the impression that this whole cannabis drive is, I can even take what I'm using in my private backyard and growing, I can also put it into a muffin and sell it. And that has already happened in a number of schools. And that's why we thought, rather than us having to deal with those issues, let's first of all fix and clarify that we've not approved any products as yet, and there's still a step in the regulatory process that must happen to ensure that there's a full traceability of any hemp and hemp-based products. So that's the reason.
So basically, Penny, sorry to interrupt you there, any cannabis-related product has to be licensed, essentially, by the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority?
Not all. If they are having CBD in them or claiming to have CBD in them or showing anything about the cannabis plant, those are claims about something that is scheduled, and therefore they would have to fall into the SAPRA category. But when they come into the food category, they're going to have to be honest about the product. So if you have a hemp-based product which comes from the D-hull seeds, it should have 0% THC and 0% CBD. Therefore, by implication, you cannot advertise that it has coming from the marijuana plant and show a leaf of the marijuana plant, or the other aspect is that you cannot say it's a health food, because we don't allow those kinds of claims unless specific criteria is complied with. So we've updated our labeling regulations to deal with health claims, and we will then have to take the cannabis industry that is growing hemp and hemp-based products through that to understand what are the implications for their products in terms of how they need to be regulated.
Yeah, so I get the regulations around cannabis, but for hemp, is it not out of the blue, just given that hemp products are not psychoactive? I mean, these are products that have been sold for years and years at, well-known retailers.
Yes, and that's because of the Schedule 0 classification, or they are carrying a health claim on them. So, and we don't only talk about a claim as in a word that it can treat you, but we also look at the trademark or the brand name of the product. So if you've branded your product cannabis cookies, but there's no THC and there's no CBD in it, then you are actually being misleading, or you're making a claim about a health benefit, and therefore you fall into the SAPRA category.
What do you make of the claim, Penny, by outlets that have been selling these products, that this decision has been made sort of under the radar, out of the blue, and without any consultation?
So we are not telling those people that they cannot sell their products. We are saying that they are not foodstuffs as defined under the Foodstuffs Act, and therefore there's no oversight from an environmental health practitioner perspective.
So they can sell their product? I'm so confused.
Yes, they can sell their product.
But it's not legal.
If it's an edible, that has been quietly kept okay, and even lawyers have said that has been illegal. But many a times when those products have been presented at ports of entry, when the Border Management Authority seeks our guidance, we indicate to them those are not foodstuffs. And similarly, the hemp with any claims on it are also not foodstuffs yet because we haven't approved them as such. So until such time that we start that approval process that SAPRA has indicated in the descheduling, only then will there be regulatory oversight for hemp and hemp-based products.
Okay. So what's the message to cannabis shops this afternoon who sell a whole range of products, including, as you say, muffins, biscuits, whatever the case might be? Can they still go ahead and sell their products?
They cannot call their products foodstuffs.
They cannot call the products foodstuffs, but it's not necessarily illegal to sell those products.
According to the legal experts, the ones that are selling edibles have been doing so illegally.